me to be famous again.
Here you go. It's happened. All right, everyone. Here we are. Back on the podcast. Back talking about adversity. But today, I got Bryanna.
Hi.
So, Bryanna, just tell me a little about yourself. Where are we from? Where are we from? Just give me something.
I'm from Orange County, California. It's right underneath LA County from Huntington Beach.
Yep. How long you been in Isla Vista?
2.5 years.
Okay, right on. And then how did you get here?
I did a ministry school up in Redding, California called BSSM and came down on a missions trip to Isla Vista and just fell in love with the place, with the community. And so I just decided to move here and moved into the JB house.
Praise God. Having no idea what you were really signing up for.
No,
huh?
none at all.
Which we could segue in. I know you would have a lot to share about your journey in Isla Vista and the different adversities.
For sure.
But the one I want to highlight today is kind of a heavy one, but a very relevant one for a lot of us. If it's not now, it could be later in your future, and that is losing a loved one. And Bryanna lost her mom in September of 2019. Mm-hmm. So let's just start off. Was that expected? Were you like, oh, mom's going to die? Or was it kind of more of a sudden thing?
Yeah, no, it was not expected at all.
Right.
It was very, very sudden. Yeah, I had just moved to Ivy and...
Like within a month or two, right? I feel like it happened really fast.
Yeah, within like the end of... I moved in July, and then at the end of August...
Wow.
I got a phone call from one of my friends while I was in Orange County. Or not one of my friends, from someone in my family being like, mom's in the hospital. And I was like, what? Why?
Mm.
And then I remember just driving up to my parents' house and visiting her in the hospital and having really no idea what was happening. And then a month later she had passed away. And
Wow.
It was
wow.
I had taken a few trips down to Orange County from IV to see her again, but
Mm-hmm.
I really had no idea how sick she was, because it just happened so quickly, and then she also didn't have really any answers as to what was happening, and I just moved, and it was just
wow,
it was just a lot.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so initially, what kind of emotions, was it just a total swirl, surreal at first, angry at God, mad? I mean, eventually we're going to get to keys of adversity, things that help in adversity, not to say you conquered it, but for someone who has been alongside a lot of lives in Isla Vista and alongside of lives of people who have lost parents, mm-hmm. watching your journey, not to say you knocked it out of the ballpark, is there anything knocking it out when grief happens at this level? But wow. Wow, seriously, the way you loved God through it, the way you kept showing up, the way you kept your heart, at least again, you can speak into this, somewhat, maybe fully tender to God, and not put up a massive wall or said, here's the middle finger and I'm out, God. Pretty remarkable. So that's why you're in here, if you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to pull this out today. Help me, God. What happened? How did this happen? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I feel like I know why it happened this way.
Okay.
I mean, I do know.
Yes,
it's
give it to us, please.
Well, because I had done ministry school, I had heard enough stories from people's lives, and I had heard enough sermons to know that the devil hates me and hates all of us who are in Christ, and that every circumstance in our lives is going to try and tell us one thing. Mm. And whereas God is probably saying something different. And so I just realized that the enemy was going to try and take me out through that.
Wow.
And I was
already you had that thought almost from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
This could go one way or the other here.
No, I for sure knew.
Wow.
I remember having a hangout with somebody a few weeks after and just being yeah, I know that my story is meant to be people's breakthrough, and so
Wow.
I know that the enemy is going to try and take me out by this, but I'm not going to let him, because the Lord is like, at the end of the day, like, the Lord is good no matter what my circumstances may tell me. And so I was like, I just have to believe that, because I've like seen him move in my life enough to know that, like,
even though I just got so rocked off of that line. I'm serious. I'm like over here trying to recover. I'm like, wow. Yeah, it's almost like you just made a decision right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is gonna be a war, and I'm gonna have to choose God.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did actually, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so practically, let's put some like skeleton to this thing. Like, what does this look like? Because you're human, right? So you're having tough days, right? Sad days, mad days, like kind of the stages of grief at some level.
For sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I went through like a lot, obviously, because I had gone to the hospital room like a few hours after my mom had died with a few friends, and like prayed for her to rise from the dead, because I like believed that miracles still happen and miracles are for today, and that
it's beautiful.
If like, I just was like, this is too bad of a situation for this to be God, and so I was like, his will is always to heal, and so I'm just gonna like pray and believe that she's gonna rise from the dead. And so I prayed with my friends for a few hours and didn't see anything, and then the next day we went back to the hospital and like tracked down her like body from like the people who were picking it up from the morgue.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was wild, and we like went and like waited outside until like she was like being like shipped or like brought to like this to the cremator essentially, and like prayed for her body or for her to rise from the dead, and didn't see anything happen. And like it took until like the end of the day for it to really to hit me that I was like, oh, like I don't think she's gonna rise from the dead in the morgue. Like I don't think that's going to happen. And so it was like a lot of shock for sure, and then like a lot of like
disappointment.
Totally. Right. So much disappointment, because I fully like believed that God would heal her, and fully believed that that was his will in that situation. And so it, even though I had that perspective of like God is good in every circumstance, it really did like pull me into question of like, okay, well, like is he actually with me? Like, does he actually like care? Like I know that he's good, but why am I not seeing your goodness in this circumstance? And so that led to, I think I realized through walking out of a lot of grief that like most of my grief was, a lot of it had, I mean, like losing a loved one, losing a parent is like gigantic, huge loss, huge transition. It's like for the first time you're like really an adult. Like you don't have that covering in your life, and it hurts, and it's like you've always had that covering in your life, and then suddenly you don't. It's a horrible experience. But I think like, I'm trying to remember my train of thought.
It was so good.
Dang it.
It was like the first time in your life something, I can't remember what you were saying either.
It was like,
I don't know, but this is like really good. I'm just like, wow, Lord.
But yeah, I like, it was really painful, and I knew that the enemy wanted to take me out, but I still couldn't deny that the way that I was feeling and the pain of that
because
loss.
You were talking about grief, I just remember too.
And
I brought up past grief, I think you were almost going to go to, maybe, or no?
I realized that like the grief that I was experiencing, a lot of the pain that I was experiencing, there was a lot of different facets, but I think most pain comes from a place of like having wrong perspective. And so a lot of my pain was rooted in lies of like, oh, God's not here with me anymore. He doesn't care. Like he took away my mom. Like he must like
you
not
feel
be
like
present in that.
Sorry to have to put on a ranking system, but do you feel like on a scale 1 through 10, those thoughts were like some days like a 10 and other days like a 2? I mean, was that a constant for months you're in that kind of tension place? I think
it wasn't even like, it wasn't even thoughts. It was just that belief that settled in that was just like led to like, it was like the thing that was over
almost the lens, right?
It was my lens. And so it wasn't even like,
I get it.
a recurring
wasn't,
thought.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was like a,
Okay.
this is my belief.
For how long would you say?
That lasted, I mean, it's hard because it goes in stages. In the first stage of grief, you're in shock. And so, like, for the first few months, I remember, like, knowing for a fact, like, oh, nobody can fill my pain or my void. The Lord is the only one who can. And I remember going, like, daily into the house of prayer that's in my backyard, like, in the garage, like, going there every day and just, like, crying and just, like, waiting until I, like, until my tears were done and waiting until I just knew that he was with me.
Wow.
Like, I just was like, I have to know that you're here. Even if I don't feel you, I have to, like, let myself just be exactly where I'm at and be, like, known and seen in this. And so...
That's really good, though.
Yeah, that lasted for a while. And then, like...
And you were pretty consistent. You would just go there.
Yeah, because I was in so much pain. It was like, I can't fill this with anything else other than him because it's not going to do anything. Like, if I feel this with people or if I feel this with, like, every other, like, comfort, it's not going to... It's going to pull me away from him rather than pull me into him. And I knew that, like, he's this true source of, like, comfort and joy. Wow. And I knew what it looked like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I knew.
Well, I mean, I think regardless of people have lost that are listening to this, we've all experienced loss, right?
Yeah.
And even just like I lost a dog, I lost a job, you know, I lost a friend that was with me for some years. So it's so easy for us to take our pain to other sources and other places. But I'm hearing you on like one of the highest levels, along with losing probably a child, you know, losing your mom, saying, okay, I'm taking my pain to God. And then the next day I took my pain to God, and I realized there was no other source to go to.
Yeah.
That's why I think your story from the outside looking in has been like, what the frick is Bryanna doing with God? Like, what happened? You know, like, I mean, it's not like I didn't know some of this, but like, I'm just kind of like putting the pieces of my puzzle together, you know, and be like, okay, so that's what was happening. You were going to the house of prayer, you were crying, until you felt like, not even felt, but just believe, right? Because sometimes you said you didn't always feel it.
No, I didn't always feel it. There would be times where, like, I just have, like, memories of being in there and being like, Lord, you're totally not with me right now. Wow. I literally cannot, like, like, I know that you are, but I don't feel you. And I was just like, and that sucks.
Yeah.
And then just having to, like, remind myself and, like, break, like, after I had gotten through all of, the pain kind of, and just being like, okay, well, I have to bring myself to a place of worship, to bring myself, like, back to you, kind of, and just being like, okay, well, my worship right now is me sitting here and accepting that you're with me, even when it doesn't feel like it. Or sometimes my worship would be me trying to, like, play a song on the piano, which I can't play. I would just like poke at keys, or like me just like
That's
leading myself into a song or something, and just like externally processing. And I was just like, my worship, even though I feel like I have nothing to give you, is just me being here and believing that you are close when I don't feel your closeness.
I can't help but like, cause I'm like I'm a lifelong camper. I don't even know the words are for the Psalms. Like, I will be camping in the Psalms my entire life. They've always been the gentle stream when I need to get into God. But I'm hearing this, I'm like, man, you're like, this is like a song. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where are you, God? Why are you downcast? And then, like, now you're bringing it into, like, back to, like, where David would usually end them. Of, like, okay, God, you are worthy. You are good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it says in Proverbs, like, or maybe Psalms. I don't know. I get them mixed up.
It's okay.
When I reference things.
Please.
It says, like, you enter his gates through thanksgiving, you enter his courts through praise. And I knew that key. And to, like, when I was believing a lie about God, like, I would just have to, like, bring myself into a place of, like, reminding myself that the lie wasn't true and that God really was what he said that he was. And, I mean, there would be days where I couldn't get myself to, and I would just be... like sad and tired and in grief, and like that was the place that I was in. But like ultimately I knew that the place that I was trying to get to was a place of belief again.
Wow.
And that's really what, like, I had like a wild encounter with God where like I came into agreement and alignment with like the beliefs of who he was.
Wow.
And like out of that place, like God like radically encountered me. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons why I'm not walking in grief now is because I would bring all my questions to God of like, why did this happen? Like, how could you do this kind of thing? Like, how could you leave me like this? Like, why would this happen? And out of that place, like, you don't really hear much of an answer from God towards that. You kind of are just like, you don't get a lot, but you do get him in it. You do get the feeling of knowing really that he's there.
Right. So you didn't get a ton of clarity, but you knew God was with you.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I came into agreement and alignment with saying like, okay, God, you are the way, you are good, you are kind to me, you are a good father. It wasn't until I came into that agreement and that alignment that God was actually able to give me the truth and give me perspective and tell me, no, I was with you the whole time. Let me walk you through that. And that's like really where most of my freedom and breakthrough came out of, is like God just like powerfully encountering
That's
me.
amazing.
And showing me.
Oh.
That he actually was good.
I'm getting rocked over here.
Yeah. It is wild.
So, okay, we can land soon, but something I want to kind of help me to understand, and anyone else that needs a little more understanding. It's hard as believers, I find, when we know we're supposed to believe something, but we don't, right? So you said there were days I couldn't even get myself there. Did you judge yourself for that? Because I feel like that's kind of what we do when we're not like what we're supposed to be. Like, I'm supposed to be like an all-star Christian. I know all the truth. I went to ministry school. What the heck? You know, how did you, or maybe you did judge yourself, but how, like, what went on there when you were having those tough days in your mind and heart?
Yeah, no, I totally judged myself. I like put a lot of pride in me being a superstar Christian and being emotionally healthy before I lost my mom. And then I kind of watched myself like let experiences, not just losing my mom, but different experiences with friends, like really like get me into a place where I was like, oh, I am not healthy in any way right now.
Wow.
But I was like, that stings. That's rough. Because you were. And now you're not at all. And so I definitely judged myself for that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think there was enough, like, I did judge myself, and the Lord in his, like, after, like, going through that and just being like, wow, I actually need to show myself grace, because, I may have put, like, a lot of my identity in this thing, and now I feel like I have no value, but, like, the truth is, I'm going through the hardest season of my life right now in such a difficult circumstance, and I just need to, like, remind myself and give myself grace, because, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm doing the best that I know how.
That's good, Bryanna.
And I think also I had friends who are, like, really encouraging for me, too, who would just be like, Bryanna, you know that you're doing amazing.
That's right.
Like, and I'd be like,
that's right.
I don't feel like I'm doing amazing.
Right.
What, like,
yeah.
You don't know what I used to look like. You don't know who I was before this happened. Like, you have no idea. And I'm like, you see me now, and I'm just like, oh. All of my, like, idolization of what I thought that I was or who I was supposed to be, it's just, like, you watch yourself not be that, and it just, all that kind of, like, pride just has to, like, crumple down, because you're just so severely humbled.
Wow. And the gift is God, though, right? The gift is Jesus, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's what I can go back to in your story. It's like, every time I've heard you share from the front, here now, it's like, you found God in a place maybe you have never found him.
Yeah. I, like, found him in, like, the place where I didn't have any clarity and answers, but I still knew that he was...
Right.
That he was, you know, and, like, that... I feel like that's enough, because, like, if you have God, then, like...
There you go. I know, there it is.
you have him.
Yep.
You know?
That's
And I
it.
think all the like the perspective stuff and like it's all such a gift, like to walk out of pain and like God to give you perspective on your life is like it's just a gift from him, you know? And like I feel like I'm walking in so much joy and freedom because of that gift. But like at the end of the day, like I could still be in the same place that I was 2 years ago in like so much pain, and it would still be a pleasing offering to the Lord.
Wow, someone needed to hear that.
And he would still be honored in it.
That's
you know?
good.
And I would still be a daughter, and I would still be 100% loved, and he would still be 100% faithful.
There it is.
That day is the same day that he raised Jesus from the dead, you know? And it's like, for me to accuse God and to put God on, like, trial isn't, like, that's not my job. Like, my job is to be a daughter and to receive him as a good father. And if my life circumstances don't point towards that, then it's time for me to just remind myself, oh, like, God is a good father and I get to live open-handed.
Wow. There it is. Okay, we better, I mean, that was just like, I feel like we just need to send out the firework or something. I'm like, what the frick? All right, let's end here with not a lot in our culture around grief. People avoid it like the plague, don't want to talk about it, don't want to think they're going to die. Common denominator for everyone listening, you're going to die. When? We don't know, right?
Right.
So what do you say to someone who just lost someone close to them? Great friend, a parent, a child. You know, like, what are you saying to someone who was in your exact same shoes? They don't have a lot of history with this. It's coming at them maybe for the first time on this level. You know, maybe a little kind of key that we can all just put in our back pocket. And, you know, I was going to say hopefully not use it, but the reality is, like, we're going to use it. You know, I'm already trying to, like, avoid it. Even in my, like, question, I'm like, maybe just tuck it away and just bury it and come back to this podcast one day, you know? But, like, this stuff's just real. So, yes.
Yeah. I think there are, like, two specific things that I'm thinking of. Like, I think when you go through something that hard, like something you never imagined that you go through, and something harder than you thought you ever would have to, it's really scary because you don't know if you're going to be okay. And that's how I felt. Was I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be okay. And I realized that most of the time that I was walking through that, what I really wanted to hear was somebody be like, no, Bryanna, you're going to be okay. Like, I have faith in your life and in the Lord enough to know that you are actually going to be okay through this, and that you are actually going to be better than you were beforehand, because that's how God does things.
Come on. That's
He's working all things together for our good to those who love God and those are called according to his purposes. That's Romans 8:28. And so I think that's like a main thing of like just knowing that like you're actually going to be okay, because that's what the Lord's saying over you. Like, he's always giving comfort and, like, affirmation and encouragement towards us. And I think, too, one of my, like, favorite speakers, her name's Haley Braun, she said that when you don't have the strength to stand on the rock, cling to it.
Wow. That's a good word.
You just gotta...
yeah, that image is enough right there. So true.
Exactly.
If you haven't been there, you will be there.
You just have to hold on for dear life.
It's a great word. It's true. Well, thank you. Appreciate this time and just your vulnerability and just the way that you've included others in this journey. I thank you sincerely. Like, this has been huge for me, and I know others out there will need this, if not now, in the days ahead. All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.